Welcome back to Veterans Forum, a program by veterans, about veterans, and for veterans and their families. I'm your co-host, Bob West, with Ray Chattery and Jerry Devlin. Our goal is to provide you with important information on legislation, benefits, support, and activities for you and your family by interviewing leaders in our community. Jerry, who do we have with us today?
We're very honored tonight, Bob, to have with us J.D. Larson, who is one of the most distinguished veterans leaders in Bowie, and I'm happy to report, God willing, and the creeks don't rise, will be elected state commander of the American Legion, which of course is the largest veterans organization in Maryland and the largest veterans organization in the United States. J.D. is a native of Bloomfield, New Jersey, enlisted in the Coast Guard in 1969, right after high school, and served 21 years in the Coast Guard, and was honorably discharged after a long and distinguished career as a chief warrant officer. He's gone up through the chairs in Post 66 here in Bowie, and gone up the chairs, and is presently the senior vice commander of the American Legion, and he will join a long list of Bowie residents who've been commanders of veterans organizations. So we're really happy to have J.D. Larson with us tonight.
Welcome, J.D.
Thank you, Bob.
One of the things I don't think a lot of our viewers know is how serious Bowie veterans are about veterans issues. And we represent that by the number of state commanders that we have right here in Bowie. Both Jerry and Ray were state commanders of the DAV. They were state commandant of the Marine Corps League. And we also had our own Ray Shipley as the state commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, as well as other members, including Andy Martell, who was the state commander of the AMVETS. And now we welcome J.D. Larson, who is the upcoming commander of the American Legion, which is a feather not only in his hat, but for veterans here in Bowie.
Don't have to pay dues?
It's a very exclusive club.
That's important.
The initiation, I understand, is brutal.
With your new administration coming in, J.D., what are some of the goals that you have for the American Legion here in Maryland?
Well, one of the main goals, of course, is membership. We have suffered a decline in membership over the past 10 years, and we are always looking for ways to put the brakes on that skid. That's a goal of the national organization, as it is with the other veteran service organizations as well. I don't know of one that isn't experiencing this decline in membership, and we try to find out what the reasons are and go out and recruit new members to come in to replace some of us guys that are on our way out. So that's the number one goal. Other ones are, we have some very important programs such as Boys State for training young individual high school kids. That's always getting the word out on that program. We have a state oratorical contest that we like to promote, which is for any high school boys or girls to compete in, as well as other things to let people know that we're around.
You know, and all those are very important. And we're, as you had mentioned, other service organizations are looking at ways to increase their roles through membership. And one of the activities, of course, is marketing and advertising, because you have to let people know that you exist. And this is one of the ways we do it, is through this program. We have the upcoming Memorial Day activities, a parade, as well as the Memorial Day services. And then also we're going to have a booth over at Bowie Fest that we're all going to join in. So I think these are the kinds of things we have to do. Are there some other things the American Legion is planning?
Well, we always have social activities. We have on June, and not other than social, but other activities. June 14th, for instance, is Flag Day, and we always have a flag disposal ceremony at Post 66 in Bowie.
And that's not flag burning, I might
No,
say.
it's not flag burning. Flag disposal. There is fire involved, but it's very respectful. Actually, it's a good educational experience for people. The scouts are involved. They come and they actually provide the escorts for people who want to put their flag on the burn, I guess it is. And so that's one of the things that we do. We also have a Blue Star banner sales, no, we don't do sales, we do giveaway. Any individual who has a son or daughter on active duty and would like to fly a Blue Star banner in their window can stop by the post and ask for one, and we will gladly give them one. So we do certain things to make sure that our name is out there, such as coming to events such as this.
Obviously, you've been really active in our own Post 66, but you've also been going through the chairs, through the county and so forth. Are there some other posts in the county that are doing something that may be a little different than our own post?
Well, they all have their unique style and way of doing things. We have some posts that, for instance, Post 136 in Greenbelt is very active with the Rolling Thunder. They will be sponsoring this Sunday the Rolling Thunder motorcycles that will be coming down for their Memorial Day parade through Washington, D.C. So they are out front on that activity. College Park Post 217 is very active and leads the American Legion Post in coordinating Special Olympics events. So they sponsor Winter Olympics and Summer Olympics and are very big in that organization. So it seems like most posts have some sort of specialty that is theirs.
And that's important because you can't be specialists in everything. And if you focus on one thing, you hope to do it pretty well.
At Post 66 here in town, we try to stay active with the junior ROTC program at Bowie High School, which is an outstanding program there. As a matter of fact, I got off the phone with their leader today, and they're sending 3 boys to Boy State in about 3 weeks. So we sponsor that group, as well as lend support to Bowie State ROTC program as well.
Do you have a special project or something like that this year?
Staying alive. No, we have the Sons of the American Legion, which is a branch of the American Legion. They're very good at fundraising. This year, the commander of the state commander for that group, his name is Buddy Maston. He's out of Annapolis. He took on a project to raise enough funds to buy a bus for Charlotte Hall Veterans Home. He was hoping to raise $60,000 to buy that bus. And after 2 weeks ago, it was over $90,000. So we have purchased a bus with the monies that the Sons of the American Legion has raised. Next year, their commander is going to be Heroes to Hometown. That's a project of the American Legion where people donate money to help our heroes that have come home. They're wounded. They need their family needs assistance. They need assistance, and that's what that program will be for.
Now, I know with the other service organizations too, we feel that it's a good idea to kind of work together on joint projects because it kind of helps all of us to kind of show our own flag. The other area of interest, of course, within the state is legislative issues, and we'd all try to get involved there in Annapolis, and we're looking forward to more support next year for veterans issues. Is there a few issues that of our particular importance to the American Legion?
Oh yeah, always. And Jerry will confirm, representing the Marine Corps League and the DAV. We've spent several days in Annapolis this year testifying. Well, he testifies. I just sit and watch for some legislative things. One, which is never successful, but we keep trying, is to have gaming machines in our post homes because they have them on the Eastern Shore. We don't have them on the Western Shore. It's for clubs to have the ability to make funds so they can support a lot of those things that I have previously mentioned. This year, we were successful in some things. One was eliminating the sales tax on veteran service organizations. That passed through. There still seems to be some confusion as to how long that's in effect, but it's in effect. It'll be extended. As well as tax easement for military retirees, like all the states that surround us. And another thing that was important that we got passed today was that starting on the 1st of January, when a veteran can prove that he's a veteran, his driver's license will indicate that he is a veteran. And these things come in handy for getting discounts at various places or all sorts of reasons when people need to know whether you're a veteran or not.
Telling veteran troopers that you're a veteran. Yeah, and we also, the American Legion, Ed White testifies. You have several people, and Gail and Ed, the American Legion is extremely well represented in Annapolis. They're always there, and they do the things, a lot of the behind-the-scenes things with individual legislators. And another bill which the American Legion backed, and all of us, the governor signed into law a bill setting up a study group with the idea of establishing a special veterans court. You now have special courts for drug courts, and you have mental health courts, and there's so many psychological problems of veterans, and that it would start them off and see whether, before they get to the criminal aspect of it, whether there's the psychological treatment. And it's the governor will be announcing pretty soon who the members of the commission will be, but it'll be members. He has several appointments. 2 or 3 legislators will be on it, I think, from each house. The Secretary of Veterans Affairs has someone, so we look for kind of good things on that. But the American Legion, you know, I always sit here and think that the American Legion's greatest contribution in the 20th century was the 1944 Veterans Readjustment Act, the GI Bill. And the GI Bill was thought up by the American Legion, and as one who, you know, I became a lawyer, I went to law school on the GI Bill, I have special things, but in World War II, the GI Bill trained 600,000 engineers. And then before the war, we had like 6% of adults in America were college graduates. All of the GI Bill went up to around 20. And you know, it was a controversial bill. I mean, it wasn't, the American Legion sponsored it, but the DAV actually opposed it. Their theory was that any money spent for that would be money taken away from disabled veterans, and it's not a proud part of the DAV history. And of course, it got the usual conservative opposition that it was some kind of welfare program, you know. But I don't think anything Congress has ever done has ever achieved its goal better than the GI World War. And of course, the present bill is the American Legion played a major role in the Webb GI Bill, which is the most generous GI Bill since World War II. You know, so and the American Legion is way out front on these issues.
One thing that we can talk about also is talking about how the veterans organizations get together. The Marine Corps League is the smallest one, and Pat Lamb over at the Legion several years ago as the Sons of the Legion, he's also associate member of the Marine Corps League, he took the Toys for Tots program.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm. And the Legion, American Legion, and the DAV, but the American Legion is the major drop-off, and that has been the best pickup of Toys for Tots in Prince George's County. And one time we told the Marines that you have to bring a big truck. Well, they made 3 trips with their big truck. And as I say, there again, we have Toys for Tots coming up. We get very active like right after Halloween through the first week in December. And anybody who's watching this can bring a new unwrapped toy, either drop it off at the DAV or the American Legion, or call one of the numbers on the screen, and I will personally come and pick it up if you don't have transportation. That's how I feel about how tremendous the program is.
If we could make a special appeal, the 3 of us, to your administration as state commander, what we would really love to have happen would be the American Legion join the Joint Veterans Committee. Supposedly there was some reason that we'd locked the American Legion into positions that they didn't take. Under our bylaws, anytime we take a position, it has to be unanimous from all the members. And there really isn't any substantial reason why the American Legion, and the American Legion is so big and so important, it would give a much larger and louder veterans voice. We hope, JD, look, we don't put you on the spot, but we hope you'll just look into that for us.
What's particularly interesting about what you had just mentioned is I belong to several other organizations who do belong to the Fleet Reserve. I belong to the DAV,
Right.
The Coast Guard Warrant Officers Association.
Right.
They all belong to the Joint Services Veterans.
That's pretty much general. In fact, Ray and I have a unique one. We're the only ones in town who are also members of the Royal Marine Association, the British Marine Corps.
My wife is a member of the Canadian Legion Auxiliary because her dad was a RCAF in World War II.
Yeah, we all kind of wear multiple hats, that's for sure.
See, one thing
How many hats in your drawer at home? You know?
Oh.
Sometimes pick up the wrong briefcase.
I tell people in Annapolis that I inherited the late Ed Conroy's, all his hats. I have drawers full of them.
Yeah.
See, one thing though is that the American Legion has members on all the commissions. Mm-hmm. And the Joint Veterans actually changed their bylaws to where it has to be 100%. If one of the organizations say, no, we shouldn't do that, then the Joint Veterans does not back that piece of legislation, which I don't think there's ever been one that we haven't.
No.
But
I was aware that they weren't a member. I do not know the history of why they're not a
well, I
member.
can do it, but
Yeah.
I'm not on TV, but I can give you the history on it. It's very petty, but I don't mean petty American Legion wise.
Right.
But it was but we can go
It
ahead.
dealt with more personalities
Right,
rather than
that's what I said.
substantive issues.
It shouldn't use that. It should have been personalities.
Yeah.
And it was one of those ego things. But we can get it
But
straightened
the
out.
door is
JD,
wide.
now
The
that-
door is wide open, and
Right.
presumably, like your election as commander, presumably I'll be chairman of the Joint Veterans Committee because it rotates among
Yes,
the
right.
organizations. It's not that I'm so wonderful. It's just it's the Marine Corps League's turn.
Yeah.
If you live long enough, the chairs keep moving.
So your convention is in July?
Yes, the opening ceremonies are July 10th. The first day of business is July 11th and concludes on Friday, July 13th.
And that's when you get coronated.
And that's when I get coronated, and the date has not escaped me. I'm very fortunate. I have invited Senator Doug Peters, who's a life member of Post 66, to make my nominating speech. And we've also invited the mayor, Fred Robinson, and he's responded. He'll be attending because we think it's a big deal for Bowie. And, we'd like them to be there and share that with us.
It is a big deal for
And
Bowie.
Marvin Holmes is also a member of the Legion.
Marvin Holmes, I did invite Marvin. I haven't heard from Marvin
Right,
yet,
right.
but, yeah.
He's a member of the American Legion.
Right.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
He's a member.
He
and
always wears his Legion hat to our ceremonies.
and a Coast Guard veteran.
Right.
Oh, another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one.
The Coasties.
And just another thing, too, I will be the first Coast Guard veteran to be state commander for American
It's not
Legion.
something that rotates among the...
Apparently not.
Yeah.
When they play our service songs at ceremonies, you normally see 2 or 3 people stand up. So
Yeah, it's always, what's that song?
I can't even duck the meetings because they look around. They go, "Where's JD?"
At the veteran ceremony yesterday, they played the Semper Paratus, so you were represented in absentia.
Now, you sometimes you have a parade down there and everything down in Ocean City. Didn't
Well,
they
the
have-
parades had stopped about 3 years ago. Again, like everything else, our attendance at the convention has dropped a while, and the city had determined that it wasn't a big enough draw for them to merit the expense. Now, we do have still a good parade, and Jerry had mentioned when he was a kid with a telescope watching at our national conventions. The national convention in August will be in Indianapolis this year, and I'm glad that the Honor Guard at Post 66, who will be the State Honor Guard, because I get to name them, will be making the trip to Indianapolis to march in that parade and lead the Maryland contingent in that. So I'm really glad about that. That's never been done from my state as far as I know. So
And speaking about the Honor Guard, they were national champions a couple of years
they
ago.
Right
were
here at
national
Post
champions
66.
2005.
Right.
They've made great contributions to functions here in Bowie.
They asked me if they could carry their national championship guidon in the national parade, and I said, sure, why not? Be proud of it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, under the guidance of the late Jim Pritchett,
That's
Right,
right.
right.
That's
that
right.
we all know and very well.
And he was
His,
a state commander.
Yes, he was.
And I love to tell one of my favorite Jim Pritchard stories was he would say that he belonged to every veterans group with the exception of the Marine Corps League and the Purple Hearts. He said, one wasn't his fault, the other was.
And this is just an example of the number of things that are happening out here within the veterans community that we've been talking about. But you have to get involved by stopping by the American Legion or the DAV and find out, what's really happening. And we have things available for all members of the family if they're willing to become active within the organization.
One of the downsides that we face is people have a misguided impression between the DAV, the VFW, and the American Legion that we are a bar where people sit around and tell war stories and drink. We have a clubhouse, and we do have a good time. But that is not why we are there. We are there to provide programs for national security. Every one of those organizations has programs for assisting veterans. The DAV has one of the better service officer programs of anywhere around. but you can still go to the DAV. Once a month, you have the state service officer come down there with the van and help people out with claims and whatnot. We have children programs, youth programs, scholarships, and that's much more of what we do besides sitting around telling war stories.
Now, one thing is we just had a recent DAV did a Department and Chapter Service Officer program, and Dave Campbell took that class, and he's a member of the DAV now, but he's going to be the American Legion Service Officer.
Yes, he is.
Ed McDonald I think is a Legion member, but he's more VFW and Marine Corps League. Dr. Jerry George from the Performing Arts Center, he's Marine Corps League. He also took the training, but there again, any veteran, they will help any veteran. And a lot of times you can meet at the American Legion or you can meet at the DAV. The service officer will meet you there mostly in the evening because these gentlemen, well, other than Dave, the other two gentlemen work, but they will meet you there. And we just had a forms training class last Saturday, or no, 2 weeks ago. And it went from 9 to 3. It's really hard to believe that happened. But as I say,
and you do not have to be a member of those organizations to get veterans assistance from any of those organizations.
Right. We want veterans to come in. They can stop in anytime. They're welcome. All they have to do is prove that they're a veteran, and they're our guest. And as I say, we would like them to become a member. Like I said, JD was talking about membership. Now, any person that came in the military since 1990 is eligible for the American Legion because it's wartime and it's open membership from the first Gulf War. And one misnomer, and Jerry's can attest to this, is you don't have to be missing an arm and a leg to be a member of the DAV. My disabilities don't show. Jerry's don't show. If you were injured,
for some people, they do.
Right? Yeah. No, but I'm saying that. But what I'm saying
it's not
is
the physical injury.
Actually, I had plastic surgery.
Right. But
the doctor won't let me use his name.
Any type of injury or hospitalization, and to give you an example, every person that's at Bethesda now, or the Walter Reed complex, that we should say, is automatically a member of the Purple Heart, the DAV, the American Legion, and the VFW, automatically.
And I don't know how many people came in as kind of social members because they're veterans and like to be with other veterans, and then find that they have a legitimate claim, and they hadn't thought much about it. One of our national service officers in the DAV said that anybody who is in Vietnam starts with 10%, for all practical purposes.
In fact, they raised it now to Category 6.
Yeah.
They just raised it.
And they keep the Navy, for example, the brown water Navy, guys who are on ships, and now they're extending the blue water Navy. If even, the things that Agent Orange going through the air onto ships, and but you really make a serious mistake in not protecting yourself and your family if you don't join one of the veterans organizations.
Yeah, and not only the veteran itself, but the family member. Sometimes the veteran seems to be a little bit reluctant. So we encourage family members to come forward and get the information necessary to kind of get the benefits that they earned and they deserve.
Last September, when the van was at Chapter, I opened the back door for people to come and sit down there with somebody. There were more family members there than there were veterans trying to get information on their dad or their husband or their brother that were injured and such. And the service officers, it didn't make any difference as long as they had a proof that they needed the information. And to say, a reviewing audience, JD, is that come on down to the Legion of the DAV, and we will take care of you.
That's true, and then the van is going to be at the Bowie State here next month sometime.
Right. Now I queried, because they normally met at the DAV in Bowie, and the national organization says they want to go to the local colleges to try to reach out to the younger people and the younger veterans, especially the younger veterans that are going to college. A lot of them, when they're there, they're on campus and they're visible and they can get the people to come out. That's the reason why they're going to Bowie State and not coming to the DAV this time.
Now, you had mentioned Bowie State. That's coming up in the summertime for boys to go to camp.
That's June 17th, I believe. Starts on Father's Day.
Okay, and we're going to have 4 members from the Navy Junior ROTC from Bowie High School. Is it too late for other people to consider having their boys go to that?
No, it is not. It is not too late. Registration has ended, but anyone who would be interested, you have to be between your junior and senior year. There is a girls' state also. The auxiliary runs a girls' state program, but I must confess I'm not too familiar with their application process. They meet at the same time. They meet in Salisbury at Salisbury College. We are going to be at Washington College in Chestertown this year. It is not too late. There are applications. They can contact the post and leave a name and number. We can get them to them. There are some things. They do need a physical from the school doctor or nurse situation that they have there. But fortunately for anybody who wanted to go, they could still do it because they know me.
Okay. Oh, and now, is that a unique program to Maryland, or is that in?
Oh no, it's
national.
a national program. As a matter of fact, they learn how to run government. They set up their own internal government. They have different parties that they do, and they pass legislation. We have guest speakers come in from all over the state that'll come down and address them on certain areas. There'll be legislative meetings and stuff. And they actually elect a governor, and they elect 2 senators. Now, the 2 senators that they elect for their Boys State class go to Washington, D.C. in July for Boys Nation. And there's a very famous picture of Bill Clinton when he was Boys Nation in 1961 meeting President Kennedy in the White House. There's a picture of him shaking hands, and he said that's when he decided he wanted to be President of the United States.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was all from being Boys
That
Nation.
picture has been figured prominently in all Clinton campaign literature for a very long time.
The one thing,
Especially in Massachusetts.
I was one of the drill instructors for the Marine Corps 50 years ago at Boys State when it was at University of Maryland.
Well, this is hard to believe, but our 30 minutes is up.
Oh,
We want to thank you for watching Veterans Forum. We hope you enjoyed the program and learned information important to you and your family. Now we ask you to get involved with other Bowie veterans by actively participating in one or more of our veteran service organizations. We ask you to stop by the American Legion or the DAV and meet your veterans. Come down with your family or family members themselves and find out about the benefits that you have earned and deserve. And we look forward to seeing you there at the club or at our next Veterans Forum. And thank you again for watching. I want to thank J.D. Larson, the new Commander-elect for the American Legion for the state of Maryland. I want to thank Jim Travlin, he's our new director, and of course our set director, Ellen Rauch, who has been back again and looking forward to a summer vacation. Thanks again for watching Veterans Forum.